Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Daniel Jumapiri, head coach of DJP Boxing Academy, and I'm here to introduce you to the basics of boxing. We'll be covering such subjects such as boxing stance, footwork, your shape, the way to throw punches correctly with good technique, and also how to select or, for example, put yourself in the most optimum position for defense. To begin with, we're going to demonstrate the proper way to stand in your boxing stance. I will show a little short demonstration of the opposite. So for example, orthodox stance, which is your left hand forward, or the southpaw stance, which is your right hand forward. Now, because there's a lot to go over, it will be a quick little improv of each situation, just to quickly demonstrate the basics and understanding of why we stand the way we're standing, whether or not be utilizing the lefty stance or the righty stance. So now what I want you to do, if not possible, obviously you can use much more basic dynamics. You want to gather markers, okay? You don't have to have cones. If you don't have cones, you can use bottles, you can use any household objects, cups, anything along those lines. For our demonstration today, we're going to be utilizing these red cones so that you guys can see how your feet line up in the stance that you're standing in. So for example, as an orthodox fighter, it will be left foot forward, right foot back, right hand tucked by your chin, with your left hand about 10 to 12 inches away from the face, okay? Now, once you've established that shape, you want to also then think about your heel toe alignment. So we talk about the front foot's toe lining up with the back foot's heel, okay? And the way that we utilize the understanding or structure is as if you're a table. However big of a step you're taking with the left foot, you're taking that equal step with the right foot, but at the same time, you're based in an equilibrium. You have a good balance, okay? So from here, first things first, we tuck the chin, protect ourselves, hands are high. We sit into our stance, so you're not pushing your knees forward, you're sitting into your glutes, into your bum, into your legs, on the balls of your feet. Now this is an orthodox stance. I'm going to demonstrate now a southpaw stance. Same situation that you were in before, thinking about your heel toe alignment, front foot toe, back foot heel. Okay, now we're going to be left hand to the chin instead of the right hand to the chin. The right hand is now 10 to 12 inches away from the face, sitting into your stance. Chin is tucked, eyes are up, and you are on the balls of your feet, ready to move. So this is now the southpaw stance. Right hand forward. Orthodox stance, left hand forward, okay? Once you've established your movement pattern or your shape, so for example, as we said, orthodox or southpaw, and either you want to be a righty or you want to be a lefty, now what we're going to do is introduce the footwork in that stance. So for myself, I'm naturally an orthodox fighter, meaning that my left hand is forward, right hand is back. I'm tucked into position here. What I'm going to do to establish the basics in this stance is learn how to move with good biomechanics and good utility of my feet, meaning that I don't ever want to get into an overextended position or fall off balance. So once I've established that good basics or good foundation, strong foundation here, that I have my heel toe alignment, right hand tucked, left hand up, chin tucked, but eyes up, so I'm in a good turtle shell, a good defensive structure, good position. I'm now going to integrate the footwork within this stance. And it's very simple. All we're going to do is walk in each direction, be it forward, right, left, or backwards. Now, one of the cardinal rules in boxing, when you are moving in any of those directions, is that the lead leg, meaning that the leg that is closest to that direction, moves first. So for now, just to keep it simple, I'm going to demonstrate myself walking in each direction and how I utilize my feet and my footwork to get myself into that position without falling off balance, okay? Now, why we have the cones here is to also show you a representation of each one of those directions. So we're gonna start from the middle, line up your heel toe alignment, sideways on, chin tucked, hands up. I've established my orthodox position. I'm on the balls of my feet, and I'm going to step forward, small steps. However far I step with one foot, I step the equal distance with the other foot. So we do not want to step big with the front foot and then step small with the back foot, because as you see, it will widen my stance. Or for example, stepping small with the front foot and stepping big with the back foot, because then it will close my stance, meaning that I'm easily pushed off balance. What we want to see is if, for example, I take a step of 3 to 4 inches with that front foot, then I will also take a step of 3 to 4 inches with the back foot, meaning that I've carried my foundation in a good manner or with good structure, so that way I can punch on the move, okay? Here, punching on the move, backwards, forward, going left and right, or I can defend on the move, moving my head off the center line, slipping, rolling and catching with good footwork integrated into that movement. We're not going to think about too much advanced things. We're going to keep it nice and simple into the basics. So all we're going to do is step in each direction, showing you how to execute that properly, like so. Establish your shape. Step forward, step backward, step left, step right, step forward, step backwards, step left, step right. Now we're going to demonstrate the footwork and movement from the southpaw stance. Previously, we showed you how to utilize the orthodox stance, and now we're going to do the exact same for the southpaw stance. So as we said before, right foot forward, left foot back, creating that heel-toe alignment. You guys may not be able to see on camera, however, there is a line that separates and splits the front foot's toe to the back heel. And just for a key demonstration to quickly show you, the stance will be taken as such. So your front foot's toe goes into that back heel, and as you can see, the foam batten shows you that it's establishing a pretty near perfect straight line from that front foot's toe to that back foot's heel. Now that's what I mean when I say heel toe alignment. So now we establish that heel toe alignment. Right foot forward, left hand protecting the body, protecting the chin, right hand 10 to 12 inches away from the face. Some people may have different stances. Some people may like to hold their hands low, hold their hands nice and tight. However, for the basics, we like to have the hand high so that it can act as a shield and as a guard. From here, we're then going to go into the balls of our feet, tuck the chin, eyes are up, and just as we demonstrated before, making sure that we are stepping with the lead leg in that direction. So as we go forward, front foot moves first. As we go backward, back foot moves first. As we go left, left foot moves first. As we go right, right foot moves first, okay? So as a quick demonstration, I'm going to show you how to utilize proper footwork to walk in each direction. However, as we also talked in our orthodox stance, we do not want our feet coming together, okay, or spreading too far apart, okay? So that way, every single time you take a step, it is equal steps or equal distance in steps with both front foot and back foot. So re-establish the southpaw stance. Now going forward, backward, left, right. One thing that is very important and integral to your footwork, as you are transitioning from southpaw or orthodox, making sure to maintain the basics on each dynamic. Don't try to overcomplicate things. Don't try to mix both your stances. Master one aspect, whether it be orthodox, whether it be southpaw, get that down to the fullest. And then over time, maybe you can transition, work on the other stance. However, there are rules, there's rhymes and reasons for why we do everything. So right now, folks, we're gonna quickly demonstrate to you the basics of punching. We've established the stance, whether it be orthodox or southpaw. And now with the help of my very good friend here, Mohammed, we're going to show you guys how you want to be throwing from the orthodox position and all the basic punches from jab, cross, left hook, left uppercut to right uppercut. There's going to be the understanding of the technique, the setup, and how to punch correctly, whether you're moving forward, moving backwards, moving right, or moving left, okay? So right now the basics is going to be just each punch demonstrated from our friend Mohammed here. He's going to show you guys how to throw the jab, the cross, the left hook, and the right hook. So first, we're going to start off with the jab. What we're going to do first, before we actually get into the punching, Mohammed, if you can give me a quick demonstration of just moving in each direction and moving so practically, okay? So moving forward, moving backwards, moving left, moving right, and how you do so. Brilliant. Good. Brilliant. Well done. Keep going. Good. And remember, try and step, same size of step every single time, okay? So now when you're throwing that jab, to utilize the jab being the most important punch in boxing, you may have heard this before, because it sets up all other punches. It can act as a spear, it can act as a shield. What we're going to do is utilize that same forward step as you're stepping towards your opponent. However, sometimes you may not use the back foot. The back foot may not leave the ground. Sometimes it might be a jab just from the front foot, and sometimes maybe you'll be jabbing and advancing with your feet. So right now I'm going to ask Mohammed to stay where he is, stay stationary, and just to utilize half of the footwork, so being his lead hand and lead foot. Now, when the foot steps, you want to also utilize your hip, turn and twist. So as the foot is landing, the hand is landing. So this is the jab in the orthodox stance. Brilliant. Come straight back to the chin. Brilliant. Use your hip. Brilliant. Turn your hip, not the elbow. Brilliant. And get back. Good. So remember, as if you're coming through with the foot in, that's it. This is what helps you get there. Don't punch through the shoulder. Turn. Fantastic. And get back. And get back. And get back. And get back. Fantastic. Again. So here, Mohammed is showing a very crisp, very good jab. Brilliant. Straight back to the chin. Good. Good. Sharp forward and back. Brilliant. Brilliant. Fantastic jab. Okay. Now, bring that right foot across here. Now, we're going to demonstrate the right cross from the orthodox stance. Okay. So now you're just going to, fantastic. Remember, don't need to step too deep. Turn and hip. And get back to the chin. Turn your hip. That's it. Use your foot. Turn. Brilliant. Good, but not elbow from here. Okay? Fantastic. Turn and turn back. Turn and turn back. Good. Good. Brilliant. Brilliant. Good. Hip. 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 Good. Raise your eyes. Good. Fantastic. Well done. So that's a right cross. And now we're going to go into a left hook. So remember, fall off the center line, twist as if you've thrown the right cross. So here, okay, as if you've thrown the, no, other way. As if, no, you're slipping. So imagine there, okay? Now you're safe. You're delivering lovely with the hips, with the feet, okay? So no, it's not punching. You're slipping, okay? There, then you're punching back. Don't drop your hands. There, don't drop your hands, okay? So, brilliant. Turn in, okay? Slip. There we go. Well done. There. Good. But don't punch across yourself. Bring it into the target, okay? So there. Imagine my hand is here. How are you going to punch this hand? Punch this hand. No. This hand. You're throwing a left hook. Brilliant. Do you see what you done? Okay, do it again. Good. But don't drop your hands. Lift the elbow. Fantastic. Again. Good. Again. Now set up properly. Imagine. Here. Okay, now look. Fantastic. But don't drop your hands. You keep dropping your hands. Okay. Good. Okay, do you see? Safety. Okay, so slip. Good. And turn. Elbow high. Here. Brilliant. Well done. Here. Good. And making sure it comes around this hand. So punch now here. Punch this hand. Good. Don't drop your hands. Again. Fantastic. Don't drop your hands. Much better. So now Mohammed is going to demonstrate the right hook. Okay. Okay, but don't slap. You're turning. So you're turning, then turn back. And turn back. That was lovely. Again. Good, but your target's over here, Mohammed. You're punching over there. Over here. Fantastic. And get back to the chin. Get back to the chin. You're too focused on coming forward. That was almost brilliant. Okay, that was almost perfect. But you see, like the way you're coming back, I want you to bounce off this. So punch. Yes, brilliant. Like this. Hip and foot. Brilliant. Again. Fantastic. Fantastic. Good. Okay, much better. So that's the right hook. Now we're going to demonstrate the left uppercut. Okay, but this time, just like you were throwing the left hook, okay, you're going to slip. But remember, now you're going to come from here. So look where my hand is. Punch this hand. Lovely, okay, but stand up with the legs. So there, slip, and then stand up, but brilliant. But turn as you're throwing, okay? So here, good, but don't drop the hand, because that's why the feet, brilliant, that's why the feet are dropped. So there, punch. Now do that movement straight away. Here, good, but don't drop the hands. You can't leave yourself vulnerable, okay? So slip, up, brilliant. Yep. Use this. Fantastic, uppercut. Good, and don't drop the hands. Good, well done. Turn your hips into the punch. Fantastic, there, again. Brilliant, don't drop the hands. Good, but you keep dropping the hands just before you punch. Okay, good. Underneath. Turn, brilliant. Okay, that's the left uppercut. So now we're gonna try the right uppercut. So here, same thing, turn, punch. Lovely, but come underneath, okay? So slip, legs, fantastic. Stand up with it. Slip, brilliant. Slow, there, good, but drive it up, uppercut. Brilliant, but you're doing this. Stop, turn, brilliant. You see, then bounce back. Bounce back, lovely, okay? And again, one more time. Here, would you see difference? Yeah. Don't need to do this, okay? When you're here, stand and turn, hips. Stand and turn with the hips, okay? Turn, good, again. Okay, slip. Take your time, come on. There. Fantastic, well done. So for the next part, I'm going to demonstrate defense and what we want you guys at home to understand about defense. I'll demonstrate different aspects of defense. So for example, hand defense, head movement, foot movement as well. So the first line of defense that I'm going to demonstrate for you guys at home is called the parry. I'm gonna have my box over here, Mohammed, throwing punches at me and showing you guys the most effective way to deal with the punches. So we're gonna start off with dealing with the jab and dealing with the cross, okay, or the backhand, the rear hand. So in this stance, Mohammed is standing in the orthodox stance. So he'll be throwing the jab and the right hand. So the jab and the cross, okay, the 1 and 2. So he's going to be throwing directly at me, and I'm going to be showing you guys different ways of how to deal with it, whether it be parrying, slipping, rolling, or taking steps back, or for example, stepping off the center line, okay? So for the very basics, we're going to focus on the most effective way of dealing with these punches. The first line of defense is going to be your hands. So as Mohammed is throwing the jab at me, I'm going to parry. I'm going to parry with my lead hand and my rear hand, okay? So as Mohammed is ready, this is just a parry here. All I'm doing is redirecting the hand. So if he does it in slow motion, I redirect, and as he stays out here, I redirect to open up the ability to come back. Now even here, what you can do is redirect and come back with that same lead hand as well, okay? So this is known as parrying, okay? All you're doing is redirecting that hand away from you, okay? Making sure when you are redirecting, you're doing so in an economical stance or an economical way. You don't want to, if you throw, we don't want this, we don't want this. Because what that does, and Mohammed will show you quickly how to take advantage of that and exploit that, is if he throws the jab and I do this, he's going to do that, okay? He's going to instantly throw the backhand because I have exposed myself to be able to be hit. So now if he throws the exact same combination, by doing this, I can block that with my lead hand by simply redirecting the front hand and then blocking by moving small economical distances that allow me to then regain my defensive structure and position. So that's how you parry. So we can show just different little ways of parrying as well. We can parry the backhand, parry with the lead hand, parry down, parry by blocking up, okay? So these are all different little ways. You can also, more advanced ways, if you throw the backhand at me, Mohammed, okay, if you throw the backhand, more advanced ways is to parry like this. Now this is something they used to do in the old school, because when I parry like this and redirect it with myself, I'll be able to then turn it over into a hook. And it looks like so, okay? Okay, it's a very old school move. However, if you're good at it, if you look at fighters like Roberto Duran, they would guard manipulate their opponent, and that guard manipulation would turn into their own offense, okay? However, all we're wanting to do is keep it nice and basic, nice and simple. As he throws the backhand and the front hand, I'm just parrying it in distance and keeping myself small, and you can start stacking your parries with foot movement by moving off the center line, by allowing him to follow me around, okay? Now that's the parry. Next on from that, we're going to go into the block. Now for Mohammed here, he's going to keep throwing the same punches, the jab and the right hand, the 1-2, the jab and the cross, and all I'm going to do to block is I bring the hands up to shield but making sure I still keep my vision on him, okay? So I'm blocking, okay? I can block. Even here, I can block with just the same hand if I know that that's coming. Here, I can move out the way and just making sure you're coming up. You can also block with a high guard here, okay? So that you block the hands as if you're throwing the 1-2, okay? Now, for example, let's say he was to throw a hook, a left hook. I'm blocking by bringing the hand up, okay? To shield, small. Like imagine if you've got a shield on your arm and as he's throwing that left hook or the right hook, I'm using my hand to shield myself from his attack. And also on the right hook, it's the same thing, okay? Bringing my hand up to shield, okay? This is how you block on the outside for hooks, okay? Bringing your hand up, careful with your knuckles, I don't want you to hurt yourself. And again, there, okay? So shielding there, okay? So now we're gonna go into the slips, and this is going to be taking your head off the center line. So we're gonna have Muhammad throw the 1-2 again, nice and slow. As he throws the jab, I'm taking myself off the center line. So slow it down for me. So there, okay? And what's super important when you are slipping as well is to make sure that you understand the utility of the slip. Sometimes you hear coaches say slip on the outside of punches because if I slip, for example, if Muhammad throws the jab at me slow motion for me, if I slip on the inside, what naturally will happen is that maybe he'll throw the right hand and it'll land on me. However, you'll see some fighters as they get more skill and more development, is that if you throw that jab, I slip on the inside, I'm setting up my own lead uppercut. Or for example, he's throwing the jab and I'm coming over the top with the right hand. However, for a rule of thumb, just to keep it nice and simple and follow the basics, I want you to focus on slipping on the outside of shots. So that way, if Muhammad throws the jab at me, okay, not throw directly at me, I'm going on the outside of the shot, okay? Meaning that for him to throw the right hand at me, he has to do so across his own offense, okay? He has to throw that right hand there. Now, as you've seen him do there, all I need to do is tuck behind the shoulder. So we'll just keep it nice and simple. I'll demonstrate slipping on the outside of the left hand, slipping the outside of the right hand. So as you're slipping, as Muhammad starts to throw, what I'm wanting to do is to dip using my hips, okay? As if almost I'm preparing to throw a right hand by bringing my hip back and I'm dropping my left shoulder towards my right knee. So it goes here. Now, one thing that's super important and foundational or very important to the basics of the skill is to make sure you keep your hands up. Protect yourself at all times. You may have heard this being said in boxing before, is protect yourself at all times. It's your responsibility to be defensively responsible and to make sure you ensure your own safety. So when I'm slipping, I'm not slipping by dropping my hand, because now if he does throw that right hand and he aims at me, he's going to hit me. So then if he throws that jab, I can slip, and now he throws that right hand, I have the defensive responsibility of keeping my left hand high, okay? So now that slipping on the outside of the jab is going over here so that the shot sails over my shoulder. I've dropped my shoulder to my right knee, dipped my hips down, and taken myself off the center line. However, doing the reverse requires you to think about, if you're throwing a right hand, if you were to throw with the mechanics of the right hand, you twist your foot, twist your hip, and extend out, okay? This being a cross. You want to utilize the same technique from the lower body. If he's throwing the right hand at me, you then dip using your right shoulder to come to the left knee, and that's going to allow you to fall off the center line and set up your own offense. So if you throw at me with that right hand, I'm here, okay? So we're not doing this, ladies and gentlemen at home, we're not doing this to throw at me. We're not doing this because that's bad structure. Your integrity is now off balance, meaning that if he hits me with something else, I'm going to fall off balance. You want to think about dropping the shoulder and taking your frame with you so that it allows you to counter back, it allows you to attack back. It also allows you to move off with your feet. Now we're going to go into defending utilizing the feet. Now, arguably, outside of defense with the hands, this is the fastest way to defend yourself, because all that's required is to adjust the feet and fall off the center line or step off the center line or step away from the opponent to defend yourself. It's one of the quickest ways. For example, Muhammad throws the jab at me. All I need to do is move my feet to get clear of him and to defend myself. It's one of the smartest ways to defend yourself. However, there are multiple different ways to defend yourself utilizing the feet, whether it be taking a half step back, a slide, pushing off the front foot, stepping out to the right, stepping out to the left, or utilizing things like pivots, L steps, well-done resets. There's a multitude of defensive moves that we will teach you in the course. and down the line. However, right now we're going to utilize the basics. So for example, we're going to start with a half step back. So I establish my heel toe alignment. So if you want to stand in front of me, your opponent, I establish my heel toe alignment in my orthodox stance. My right hand comes up, tucks behind the chin. Okay, chin is down, eyes are up. We're both in our stance as if Muhammad is now my opponent. He's going to start to attack with the jab. Now, just to show you guys, I'm going to go through a quick little demonstration of all the defensive moves that we've covered so far. So Muhammad is going to just start by throwing only the jab, okay? So we have our parries, we have our blocks, we have our slips on the outside, on the inside. You can dip down as well. That's something we'll go on to shortly. However, those are the things we've covered so far. Our parries, our blocks, and our slips, okay? Now, utilizing your feet, all you would do is if Muhammad is slow motion, is going to throw that jab at me, all I'm doing rather than leaning back, again, I'm going to step back with that rear leg. Now, this will come with mastery and with a little bit of time for you to really understand your own distance. I want Muhammad to first demonstrate that he can hit me. So slow motion, make sure you can touch me. Okay, so actually land the punches. If it's slow motion, you're not going to try and punch me, but I want you can see that he's making contact with me. Okay, so now as he throws his jab, all I'm doing is dropping that back foot back, just like that. Okay, so this is defense with the feet. Okay, now that's one way. That's called a half step back. If Muhammad then throws that jab again, I can slide. That's pushing off the front leg to push myself at a distance of him. Okay, and now if he throws that jab again, I can step out to the right, okay? By stepping out to the right, I take myself off the center line. I can step out to the left as well. So by going here, I take myself off the center line. That means I miss him by utilizing my feet, okay? Now to cover a little bit of what we just talked about in the dip is almost synonymous with the slips and the rolls. However, all you're doing if Muhammad's throwing at me is I'm using my legs, this time not to so much push off the ground, but using my legs to squat underneath the punch, okay? So this is what I'm doing with the legs. Rather than moving away from him, away from the target, I'm going underneath, changing levels as is known in boxing, okay? So that's defense with your feet. And now for the extended part or the second part of defending with your feet, we're going to show you pivots. Pivots are very important for lateral movement. So for example, if we have Muhammad reestablish himself here, if Muhammad is attacking me and throwing the 1-2, okay, throw the 1-2, he's throwing at me and I'm here. One thing that's super important to shut him down, for example, if he throws that 1-2 super slow motion, if I stay here, I have to deal and defend with both of the attacks. However, to pivot, in this stance, with us being both orthodox, as he throws the jab, if I slip and step, it allows me to then pivot and deals with the right hand, okay, automatically, because I've recentered myself and repositioned myself, meaning that he can't attack me where I was again, okay? He can't attack me twice where I was, because with the jab coming at me, as I step and pivot, it deals with the right hand and his inability to throw across himself. He can't punch across himself to hit me. Now, in the same sense, when we're talking about the defense, as he's throwing that 1-2, you can also have the aspect of going again. Okay, we can also have the aspect of pivoting on the outside. So now as he throws the jab, I can slip, then pivot out. This way, clearing him or clearing his center line. So where he's attacking me here. As he starts to attack me, if I pivot, it forces him to have to reposition himself to continue to attack me, okay? Now that's another line of defense with the feet. For another aspect of defense that we're going to focus on is also discussing rolls, okay? Muhammad so kindly reminded me that when we are being attacked and someone's throwing hooks, we demonstrated earlier on, as you throw your hooks, your left and your right, to block is to raise the guard and to stop your opponent from throwing. So throw the right hook as well, okay? Yep, so there, and then you're throwing, okay? That's to block. To deal with the hooks, you can block here. Another method of dealing with the hooks, as Muhammad sets up to throw at me, okay, is to roll underneath. Okay, so now throw the right hook as well, is to roll underneath. Now how we roll, I want you to imagine, for example, you've slipped, okay? Once you've positioned yourself by dropping the right shoulder to the left knee, the roll is as if you've got a dot which is facing your opponent, okay? And it's like a laser dot. You want to draw a U or like kind of like an ellipse shape, because the hook, just a quick demonstration, left hook, but come to my face. The hook will come from around the guard, okay? And it will hit me on the outsides of my my guard. So through, for example, let's say Muhammad was to throw the 1-2, then a left hook. As he throws the 1-2s, it narrows the guard and allows him to attack from the side. Now, for the roll, if he throws the 1-2 left hook again, slow motion, we slip on the outside, then roll underneath. So what you're wanting to do is to utilize the kind of like a semicircle with the head. Okay, you're drawing on a semicircle, dipping with the legs underneath and preparing the hips as you roll underneath. So now, for example, I want Muhammad just to throw the left hook, then the right hook, slow motion. We're gonna go underneath, then underneath, okay? Utilizing your legs. So you do not want to do this. This is a huge beginner mistake that I see a lot of beginners do, is when they're rolling, if you wanna throw the hooks again, they do this, okay? Meaning that they can't really see what's coming, and 9 times out of 10, they'll get hit by either an uppercut or they'll be walked onto a shot. So what you always want to do, just as we talked about before, is you tuck your chin, hands are up, and you are utilizing your legs to look at your opponent. So when they're attacking, if you want to keep throwing hooks, okay, you can see that they're coming and that you're rolling underneath, okay? That you're getting and clearing that distance. That is your defensive structure. Now we're going to focus on the aspect of delivering your offense and how to throw a punch with proper technique, okay? So the most important aspect of delivering your offense or punching correctly is to make sure that your foundation, your footwork, and your actual base has been well established. So throughout this training that we've been delivering to you guys, we've shown you how to stand in orthodox, stand in southpaw. Now, once we reestablish our heel-toe alignment, once we've got our chin tucked on the balls of our feet, hands are high, and that we have a good guard, okay? And we've managed to move forward and backwards, left, right, all the directions with equal steps. Now we're going into the contingent or the aspect of how to deliver our offense towards our opponent. One of the most important things is to have good offensive and defensive responsibility within your offense. What that means is mitigating things or stopping yourself from falling off balance or telegraphing your punches that you're going towards your opponent. And how you establish that is good mechanics, good biomechanics of offense. So to just quickly demonstrate some of the basic aspects of punching, we're going to start off with our jab, go into our cross, our left hooks, our right hooks, our left uppercuts, our right uppercuts. Now with the jab, what you want to really think about, because the jab being the most important punch in boxing, there's many ways to throw it. You can throw your jab like a power jab through the legs, pushing off the ground. You can step with just the front foot. You can flick it out, you can up jab. There's different means and different methods of throwing those jabs. What we're going to focus on right now is the most efficient way of throwing a good jab. That requires you to have a good base, a good foundation, to establish that heel-toe alignment, to sit and create potential energy in the legs. So what I mean by potential energy is a lot of people, you'll see a lot of street fighters, they'll pull back their hands or they'll overload and swing because they think power is generated by the upper body. Where you get power in boxing, where the skill and technique comes into it, is delivering your mass and accelerating your mass with good, efficient structure. And what I mean by that is, once you've established that orthodox stance into the base, okay, elbows are nice and tucked, you want to remain relaxed, even though you're tight, and this will be something that you guys will understand over time as you get better, is that tightness or the structure doesn't mean that you're doing so being tense, because that steals energy away from you. You want to remain nice and tight, nice and composed, but also fluid, also nice and relaxed. Now this will allow you to set up your feet, sitting into your hips, into your glutes, into your legs, and utilizing the quads. And from here, you're going to explode into the front foot, stepping and jabbing. So as your foot lands, your hand should also be at full extension. This will allow you to transition or transfer your mass and utilize your kinetic chain to attack the opponent. But a very, very important notion to hold on to, or a very important aspect of punching that you should hold on to, is that the punch doesn't finish once you've hit your opponent or tried to hit your opponent. The punch finishes when you are then safe again or back into your good foundation, a good structure. So we're going to start off with the jab, setting your feet up, establishing that heel-toe alignment. Get your hands up, bend into the legs, tuck the chin, eyes are up. You're now going to, from the back leg, push off the back leg to step into the front leg and use your hips simultaneously. So you're not just doing this, you're here. Now this is initiating or igniting your kinetic chain, like your engine, turning on the engine. Here, okay? Now the hip, a very important aspect of the hip is torque, rotational force, is where the power is generated. By pushing the hip into the punch, you'll have that transition of kinetic energy from yourself, from that potential energy into a moving state where you can now deliver it to the opponent. What you want to do is take it into steps, okay? So it starts with the feet, step, turn the hip, extend, okay? Now as you extend, it's two directions. You don't stay out here, you want to be like a cobra, okay? Now if you watch a snake strike its target, it contracts first, it gathers all of its energy. From here, it then snaps out and then returns back to that gathered state or that contracted state. So that's the jab. We're here, or the jab. Keep the chin tucked, keep the hand protecting yourself, and making sure you deliver. And the last but most important aspect of it is delivering the punch correctly. So as we're delivering that punch, we're turning the hand over, okay? By keeping your chin tucked and turning that hand over, the shoulder then provides you with a little bit of defense so that you're not punching like this, but you're here and in a shielded, in a guarded state, using your hips, legs, and shoulder, everything relaxed. Okay, that's the jab. Now we're going to go into the cross. As you see from the jab, if you finish off and you've done so correctly, once you have finished the jab, your hips have recruited to your right hand side. Okay, this is why the jab is one of the most important punches in boxing, because it sets up everything. It allows you to gather the distance between you and your opponent. It allows you to use your jab as a blinder or occupy your opponent, and it lets you set up other punches off it. It becomes one of those things that can be a spear or it can be a shield. Okay, so once you finish that jab, you are already in a position where you're ready to launch the cross. Okay, and now all you have to do is step, yet again, utilizing your feet and your hips, step, turn your hip, okay, and deliver the punch. So we have the jab, the cross, left hook, right hook, left uppercut, right uppercut, okay? Every single time I punch, if you watch and are careful or you're paying attention to what my hands are doing, I'm always making sure to keep an aspect of defensive responsibility or offensive responsibility. And what I mean by that is, as I'm punching, I'm protecting myself. So using the hips, using the feet, 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 using the hips, using the feet. But I'm always within my structure to make sure that I have as much defensive responsibility as possible. So we'll go all over the punches yet again, and then I'll break down a little bit of important movement and metrics when it comes down to those punches. So for example, hip mechanics, foot mechanics, okay? So all the punches from top to bottom, not all the punches, because there's a myriad of punches that we can go into, different kind of versions of punches, but all the basic punches. So starting with your straight punches. This is your 1-2, your jab cross into your hooks. Into your uppercuts. Okay, so each punch, jab, cross, left hook, right hook, left uppercut, right uppercut. Now, one of the most important aspects of punching and the biomechanics of punching is weight transfer. What you want to think about doing when you're transferring your weight is taking the ability to shift your own dynamics or your own legs, your own weight through your legs, okay, to deliver to your opponent. So when we're talking about punching and offensive responsibility, you want to think about how you're utilizing your legs, your hips, okay, and the energy that's stored in there. So when we're talking about weight transfer, it's, for example, if I throw a cross, then a hook, it's shifting my own mass across my body. So taking the leg and turning it, okay, allows the hip to then travel freely and move forward, and there you have the ability to shift the weight from the back of the foot and deliver it to the opponent and target, and then regather that, okay? So when you're talking about crosses, or for example, all the punches, when we talk about the jab, the cross, the hooks, the left uppercuts, within that, there's a principle of weight transfer in each punch. Now, what's super important for you guys at home to try and practice before you get into the gym is just being able to shift the weight across. So being in your front leg and transitioning into your back leg. Front leg into the back leg, okay? The same way if you're throwing across, transition forward, hook backwards, okay? That's what we mean by movement of mass, weight transfer. Now, a good way to practice that at home is if you guys get into your boxing stances, shift your weight forward into the front leg as if you've thrown across, and then shift it backwards as if you've thrown a hook, and just practicing this movement here, okay? This is super important if you want to learn how to deliver with power in boxing, because a lot of people think that power comes from the way that you draw back your arms and how you swing, when really it's about how you deliver your mass. So now we're going to go over the top 5 mistakes most beginners make when it comes to boxing. These are going to be things that you yourself may already do, or things that you'll start to do subconsciously without recognizing it. So something that's super important to do when you are training is to utilize a mirror and to look out for these 5 things. When you're throwing punches, you have a lot of beginners lifting their elbows rather than transitioning their weight. And what I mean by that is utilizing their feet, their hips, and good biomechanics to punch. They'll do things along the lines like this. Okay, now what that does down the long run is give you a lot of shoulder issues, a lot of shoulder pain, but also makes it very easy to see when you're going to punch. I want you at home to try and call out when I'm going to punch when I'm lifting my elbows, okay? However, I'm now going to give you the solution for that. How we utilize our biomechanics before we punch is the way we solve lifting the elbows. So for example, making sure you have a good base, a good foundation, tuck the elbows in and sit into your hips and your legs. And now as you're punching, all you want to do is step, push off the back leg, use your hip, and just let your arm travel with that momentum. Okay, now people at home, I want you to try and call out when I'm going to punch with the proper technique. It's much harder to see because I'm not telegraphing, I'm not lifting the elbows up. Number 2, the other mistake that we make a lot in boxing as beginners is dropping the hands after you attack and before you attack. So as you can see, if you have a good foundation and good setup, if I attack you, but I drop my hand before punching, I give you a moment to attack me, or if I attack you, then drop my hand afterwards, I give you a moment to counter me, okay? So what we want to focus on doing when we're punching is setting up in our structure, chin down, hands are up, punching through that technique, but bringing it back like a piston so that it goes from point A to B and back to A. So you don't drop, then punch, you don't punch, then drop. Just straight back, straight back, straight back. Always coming back to protect yourself. That's why you've heard the phrase, protect yourself at all times. The third mistake most people make when it comes to boxing is when they're defending or learning to defend, slipping and rolling, is to look away from their opponent or look away from their visualized opponent. That's something that's very important in boxing, is making sure you learn to train the eyes not only to stop flinching and having a negative response or covering up so you can't see. It's very important to train the eyes to maintain contact with your opponent. Meaning when you're slipping, you're not slipping and doing this and looking away, or you're not rolling and looking at the ground. Okay, that's a mistake that we constantly see in the gym. And the best way to fix that is simply with practicing with time. Okay, tucking the chin, keeping the hands in a good position. Imagine you're behind a shield or a tortoise shell, that you're in somewhere safe, that you keep the eyes on your opponent, and as you're slipping, you train them to constantly look at the opponent. When you're rolling, you're tucking the chin and looking at the opponent, okay? No matter how you move, training your eyes to look at the opponent so that way you can focus on what they're doing, if they're going to attack, if they're in a defensive posture or whatnot, okay, as it continues. One thing that I can recommend to you guys is if you have someone at home to work with you, you can utilize things like foam batons, or if not, get a friend to put on gloves and just to stand in front of you and throw punches. And as they're throwing punches at you, training your eyes not to do this and not to have what's called a flinch response, which is a very natural response, but it's a good way to have a drill at home that will allow you to keep your eyes on your opponent. And even, for example, after they start throwing punches, maybe you can start moving your head, rocking, rolling, and keeping your eyes on your opponent as they do that. So our fourth mistake, common mistake that we see in the boxing gym is when people are learning how to walk around in their boxing stance, they bring their feet too close together or too far apart. So when you've established your boxing stance, a common mistake we see people doing is bringing their feet together like this when they're walking forward or when they're going backwards, or for example, taking steps too big and becoming too wide, okay? Now, how you want to remedy this is by thinking of the distance that you're stepping with each foot. So initially, what you'll want to do is take micro steps, small steps with just both feet. When you get comfortable doing this, you'll be able to increase the distance that your feet travel with being comfortable, okay? One thing you never want to do is ruin your base and your foundation, because once I bring my feet together like this, if I get hit in this position, I'm going to fall off balance, I'm going to be knocked down, or the ref will, my opponent will see that I've got a bad habit and be able to knock me down easier by simply just pushing me off balance, okay? Now, if you are hit and or knocked down in the process of doing that, the ref will still count it as a knockdown, even though you may not be feeling discombobulated or rocked or anything. Simply because you had bad structure and then got put on the ground by a punch, it still counts as a knockdown. So how we remedy that, how we get a solution of that is, like I said to you, learn to take those little micro steps, learn to stay on the balls of your feet, and learn to go in all directions with good technique. So if I go backwards, small steps backwards first with my back leg. If I'm going forward, small step forward with my front leg. If I'm going right, small steps right with my right leg. And same if I'm going left, small steps left with my left leg. This allows me to always keep a good structure and good balance in my feet. Now, the last mistake, or the fifth mistake that we commonly see when it comes down to boxing back to the feet, is people don't know how to travel with both their feet at the same time, meaning carrying their foundation. Now, a great way of actually training or learning how to keep your feet together is by utilizing them both at the same time. The last mistake you'll see people doing is, as they're traveling, they travel through one leg after the other. So they kind of hobble and bounce to places. Rather than doing that, what you want to do is utilize both your legs at the same time, and think of it as if you're on a bouncy castle, okay? But also at the same time being a table. So the feet leaving the ground simultaneously and landing simultaneously. So if I'm going forward, it's as if I'm bouncing. If I'm going backward, as if I'm bouncing. But you're still incorporating those little micro steps into your bounce. So you're not hopping over to locations and jumping wide. You are bouncing there, okay? Going forward, going backwards, going to the right, going to the left, okay? Just small micro steps and small bounces. Now, a great drill to practice this is to establish a line somewhere on the ground. For example, as you can see, I have lines everywhere here. I have lines that go laterally and go forward. Now, when you're thinking about those lines forward, both my feet are next to lines. So I would want to cross those lines simultaneously, landing at the same time. And if I'm going right to left, it's also learning to bounce across those lines, okay? So you're pushing off your feet and crossing the line and landing simultaneously. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This has been Coach DJP from DJP Boxing Academy. If you're interested in joining us or wanting to learn more, all information will be in the description box below.